you follow the previous video to this, I was saying that there's been at least 3 times in my life where I had very significant feelings, very significant experiences of deep feeling of what it means to exist, and opportunities to experience what it means to exist, and the sensation of what it means to exist around sports, romantic interest, and then professional development and maturation in that order, with reference to the coincidence that I conveyed. And it was attended by the presence of twins of those. But when I look deeper at that, is that a lot of that, these experiences, these 3 experiences, they were things that were deeply who I was, and what I felt compelled by, that came close to me, almost as though I had attracted it to myself. One is that, so I attracted to myself someone that was a very beautiful competition of some. You have to really be into something to appreciate competition as beautiful. One of the beautiful people I met, and the most beautiful, I played like a lot of people one on one, but the coolest experience I had is when this boy walked onto a court out of. It's kind of strange when I think about how he walked out of nowhere, because yes, they had moved into that neighborhood right as I was getting ready to leave, but just the angle and approach of him walking onto the court, and the spirit of it was, it was kind of different. It was pretty unique. And he walked out of nowhere onto the court, and he was challenging me that whole time, like, because he was more so about defense. So I could play basketball, like I could, I had some cool moves, but I was more so always practicing offense. I knew what defense was about, and I was maybe decent at it, and I was appreciated as having some skill around defense at different times, but I was way more inclined towards offense, and he was about defense. Like, he would have these shoes, like these Adidas. If you can just imagine, so like everyone was about Nikes and Jordans, but he was about that Adidas life, and he would just simply play some mean defense. Like, yeah, yeah, what you got, what you got? So he's quick like that, yeah, 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 yeah. And so like I'd be trying to move, like I like do a move, and he kind of pushed me back, like getting physical, not fouling me, but just getting physical. Where you going? Where you going? Oh, what you got? Okay, okay, okay. So he was challenging me, and he wasn't mean, but he wasn't nice by any means. Just like some mean ass challenge, like what you would imagine your dream competition. That person out there, the boogeyman, that person, your exact rank and standing in stature, your real true competition, who that could be as you're into something. They just showed up right now, and they're about defense. That's beautiful for a child, but um I think that I had attracted that experience, because that's about what I was being about to that point. Then the other experience is that I had really, actually, that was maybe that's deeper than just a crush. How much I liked that girl, because we were together for like the last 2 years of elementary, and then we were standing next to each other in line at all times, like for lunch each day, because our names were like 2 letters apart. And like I would have like bruises on my arm from football, and she would give me a hard time about that, because like as though I was getting whooped on because I had bruises, but it's from football practice. But you could tell that she was attracted to the bruises like that, because like I would have to be into some real ass shit even as a little kid to have that much of bruises on my hand. And that was actually some real ass shit, playing little league football at high altitude for a boy. Boy, grown man, that's some hard shit at high altitude. But uh um but so when I had that coincidence going back, it was attended by twins. My friend, so her sister, older sister, dating the upperclassman friend of my friend, my good friend, um, and that good friend, he had a set of fraternal twin sisters, a couple years my junior. Those 2 girls. Then when I was older, so I since I became one of the things, I took the scripture very serious, not serious, but I was compelled by the scripture just coming out of high school, because it had bearing to me, especially Proverbs, later Psalms at least, but especially the book of Proverbs, because that was real. Because as I can, maybe a person can appreciate on this channel, is that I'm somewhat philosophical in the literal strict sense of that word, as loving wisdom, a lover of wisdom. You would have to at least appreciate wisdom to have some of the references that I come forward with on this channel. But that was also true when I was young, because a lot of what you are across a lifetime. So I appreciated wisdom, but specifically the book of Proverbs is a book of wisdom par excellence from the King Solomon. My friend, that friend of mine, who was who had the fraternal twin sisters, and would indirectly line me up for a coincidence. He had a very close friend that was that he had a very close friend who I never met, but he would talk about him a lot as having influence on him. And his name was actually Solomon. He had a friend named Solomon that I heard a lot about. I was a little bit intimidated by his friend, not having met him or having any reason to, but just how highly he spoke of him, his friend Solomon. This offers friend Solomon. I have Solomon. But actually, that's the king that's credited with the book of Proverbs, in the Bible, and that spoke a lot to me. But there's a passage in there where it said not to overindulge honey, and wisdom is also honey, so not to overindulge wisdom. So I'll probably wrap up this video with that, because I got more content, but it can wait till another day. But I want to say that if you read the old words, the old books of the Bible, the Old Testament, I think it's actually the same. The Old Testament would be the same or very similar in the Abrahamic religions, that is Judaism, Islam, and Christianity, as it borrows from the Old Testament, is the Judeo-Christian, but also is Judeo-Christian. Christianity shares influences with Judaism as the Old Testament goes, and some of the New Testament, but then also the Abrahamic, the Quran heavily references and intertwines and maybe borrows from the Judeo old text. I'm not a theologian or Bible scholar, but I just understand that there's overlap and parallel within what's called the Abrahamic religions of Judaism, Islam, and Christianity, Judeo-Christianity. But then also in the Old Testament, there's certain distinctions about the consumption of animals and what's clean and unclean. And I think there's a reference to the design of hooves. So when I was older, many years, past that point of appreciating that, one time my grandmother I was visiting her, and I was not trying to eat pork, and she was like, "Why don't you eat pork? What's wrong with pork?" To give her something she could appreciate. There's other reasons why a lot of people would appreciate that it's not clean. Shahrazar Ali, eminent, brilliant scholar, has a book on why not to eat pork from like the 80s, and it makes compelling, convincing arguments that it's not healthy or clean or sanitary for a human being to consume pork. Because of the old Bible, the Old Testament, and a sister, my friend's sister that I've referenced on the channel, I stopped eating pork as a young man, and I never missed it to this day. I don't miss eating pork. And the few times when I have to have it, there's one times when I was without food and I had to have it, and it tasted all right, but it didn't taste. I had reservations about eating it, even as I had to. And it didn't. I don't feel right. If I eat pork, I can feel the difference. Similar to a vegetarian that would eat meat, I can feel the difference if I eat pork. But that was for, at least by the time I met the friend of my mother, I had been abstaining from pork for about at least 11 years. It's been more by that point, but from that standpoint, that's from the Old Testament. Is the design of the hooves, which hooves not to eat. My grandmother took that as I said that, but she still didn't appreciate me not eating pork. And then So from that standpoint, you could say I was something of a practicing Muslim, although I did not publicly prostrate or pay homage to the Muslim faith. I did abstain from pork, which is Muslim. Then also the only name when I'm up, there's a couple times like in the past I've seen different documentaries about people from different parts of the earth, and when they call the name of Allah, it sounds different to me, and it hits different than any other holy name that I've heard pronounced. I've referenced a great psalm name according to the Eastern faith of Chidgana, meaning consciousness, greatness, massive, and there may be nothing you're not referring to with that word, but still the most potent and heartfelt word that I'm appreciate is the word Allah, and I think that's actually a feminine termination of the on that word within Islamic language. But that word Allah, if you know what speaking tongues, if you can speak tongues in a Christian setting, I've done so in such a way that got me backlash and a medical diagnosis for attempting to do so outside of a congregation. But if you can speak tongues but only say the word Allah, you can manage that word so as to come through any amount of difficulty in bearing. And I was doing that before meeting my mom's friend, which she was also Muslim.